Commander Krell of the Threxian Dominion had witnessed many strange things in his 37 cycles of military service. He had seen stars swallowed by gravity wells, ships ripped apart by rogue nanite storms, and soldiers vaporized by weapons so advanced they didn't even leave shadows behind. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared him for the sight unfolding in front of him now. It began in the Dominion Academy's elite combat hall, a vast metallic chamber whose walls shimmered with built-in Kennecott dampeners, powerful enough to withstand the explosive force of a collapsing singularity charge. Cadets stood in orderly formation, their obsidian armor gleaming under the cold blue training lights. They were the top 1% of the galaxy's finest warriors, born for war, molded by discipline, conditioned for pain. Today, they expected to be impressed, but they did not expect to have their entire worldview shattered by a small human woman in a wrinkled uniform who yawned as she stepped into the training arena. Her name was Lieutenant Mara Saline of Earth Occupation Logistics Officer. Combat ranking, unqualified non-combatant, preferably kept away from sharp objects, at least according to her file. Commander Krell already suspected the file was wrong. Humans were difficult to categorize. The Dominion had only recently discovered Earth, classified it as a mildly rich, biologically unstable world, and had begun recruiting a few volunteers for their interspecies military integration program. Most of the humans chosen were combat specialists, engineers, or diplomats. But this small, unimposing creature with sun-tired eyes and a cup of coffee clutched like it was the last artifact of a dying civilization was something different entirely. She stepped forward, took one sip, grimaced at the taste, then muttered something like, "If you guys had real coffee, maybe I'd actually wake up for once." Commander Krell didn't know what real coffee was, but the way she said it suggested it was either a sacred substance or a weapon of mass destruction. The cadets whispered among themselves. A few chuckled. One even said, "This is the non-combatant." Mara didn't hear them. Or maybe she just didn't care. Krell turned to the control panel and selected the appropriate difficulty setting for the demonstration. The goal was simple. Test human reaction time and emotional composure by firing a low-grade hypersonic railbolt, non-lethal, controlled, cushioned impact. Still powerful enough to knock out a trainee, but safe enough for diplomacy. He selected level 3, a safe, respectable choice. And then Mara saw the setting. She frowned. Why is it on baby mode? The whole room went quiet. Lieutenant Krell said carefully, "Level 3 is what the Dominion reserves for experienced soldiers. For a logistics officer, no," she said, waving her hand dismissively. "If I am going to stand here while you guys blast stuff at my head before breakfast, at least make it interesting. Come on, crank it up." Commander Krell blinked. "Crank it up, to the top," she said, sipping her miserable alien coffee. "Let's get this over with." The cadets stared. The training officers stared. Even the wall-mounted tactical A is paused, as if unsure whether this statement was a hardware malfunction in the human car. After a moment, Krell said slowly, "Lieutenant Celine, the maximum level is level 12. Only elite Dominion generals attempt that. Most of them fail." She shrugged. "Sounds like a skill issue to me." Krell's brain made a soft clicking sound of panic. But the human wasn't bluffing. She stepped into the center of the arena, set her disappointing coffee on the floor, and said, "They're ready. Fire whenever you're done being dramatic." At this point, several cadets exchanged nervous glances. The human was too calm, not confident exactly, but dismissive, as if she were dealing with something annoying, like paperwork or a malfunctioning printer. Commander Krell was torn between two choices: a refuse and risk offending a species known for unpredictable behavior, b accept and risk destroying diplomatic relations by accidentally killing their representative. He chose B because humans had a strange way of taking offense if you tried to protect them from things they didn't fear. He activated level 12. The chamber shook, sirens flared, the railgun hummed with power capable of breaching starfighter armor. Cadets stepped back instinctively. Even Krell took 2 careful steps to the side. Mara stretched her neck, cracked her knuckles, and muttered, "If this spills my coffee, I swear." The railgun fired. A railbolt screamed across the chamber at Mach 12. A streak of superheated metal accelerated by magnetic fields strong enough to warp matter at the molecular level. The sonic shockwave shattered several training holograms. The cadets gasped. Mara did not. She simply reached out her hand casually, almost lazily, and caught the hypersonic railbolt between her fingers like someone picking lint off a jacket. The entire chamber froze. Her hair barely moved. Her coffee didn't spill a single drop. She looked at the molten projectile still glowing white-hot and frowned. "That's it. This is what you guys call elite weapons. You woke me up early for this." She tossed the projectile aside. It hit the ground, carved a molten trench in the metal flooring, and lodged itself into the far wall with a hiss. A cadet fainted on the spot. Another whispered, "Deathworld. She's from a Deathworld." A third quietly removed himself from the combat program entirely. Commander Krell's eyes were wide, pupils dilated, crest feathers rigid with primal terror. Lieutenant, how did you do that?" She picked up her coffee, took a sip, made another disgusted face. "I grew up on Earth," she said. "You know gravity. Whether animals that try to kill you, people that try harder, and caffeine strong enough to reanimate corpses. After that, everything else feels kinda meh." Krell wanted to respond. He really did. But all he could think was, the Dominion had miscalculated. Earth was not just a dangerous planet. Earth was a Class-4 Deathworld, and humans were casually ignoring the laws of physics before breakfast. And for the first time in his decorated military career, Commander Krell felt genuinely, utterly afraid. Not for himself, but for the galaxy, because humans were joining the Dominion military, and the galaxy was not ready. Commander Krell had studied the humans for precisely 112 galactic standard days before this incident. In that time, he had come to understand one truth. Everything related to humans required extreme caution, not because they were dangerous, but because they were unpredictable in ways that defied any known logic. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared him for the moment Lieutenant Mara Jones caught a hypersonic railbolt with her bare hand. The simulation chamber fell silent. The lights flickered as if even the building itself was unsure how to react. The automated training system, confused by the sudden violation of physics, beeped twice and displayed a message in red alien runes. Error, unhandled event protocol cannot process human activity. Krell's jaw went slack. His mind whirled. She caught it. She caught a railbolt. Railbolts were engineered for battlefield dominance, moving at nearly Mach 12. Their very purpose was to be unstoppable. Entire wars had been won with railbolt technology alone, and this logistics officer, had stopped one between two fingers like it was part of her morning yoga routine. Commander, Mara said casually, examining the molten smoking projectile. Is this supposed to be hot? Because I think it's melting through my glove. The room erupted into uncontrolled panic. One alien fainted outright. Two others fled the room screaming ancient prayers. Another tried to bite his own uniform in shock. Krell forced himself to breathe as he approached the human. "Lieutenant Jones," he said, voice trembling, May I ask why you thought grabbing a hypersonic weapon was appropriate?" "I didn't think," she replied with a shrug. "It was coming at my face. And honestly, I skipped coffee today. My reaction timing is kinda slow, Krell, as entire species considered a Mach 12 rail projectile an instant kill even if detected 2 seconds prior. But here was a human claiming her reflexes were impaired because of a missed caffeine dose. Krell inhaled sharply. "Lieutenant, do all humans react like this?" She tilted her head. Maybe. I dunno. I guess some of us do. Especially morning people." Then she cracked her knuckles absent-mindedly and the entire wall panel behind her dented inward. Krell stumbled back. She wasn't even trying. Suddenly, a theory one whispered only in forbidden xenobiology circles took horrifying shape in his mind. Humans weren't merely resilient, they were apex predators forged by 4 years. The Galactic Council classified Earth as Class 8, hazardous frontier, a polite way of saying probably dangerous but economically useful. But what Krell now understood was far more terrifying. Earth wasn't Class 8. It was Class-4 Deathworld, one of the most catastrophic biomes in the known universe. A planet where apex predators hunted humans daily. A planet where plants were poisonous, weather lethal, oceans carnivorous, and diseases innovative. A planet so brutal that Mara Jones catching a hypersonic weapon wasn't superhuman, it was normal. His stomach twisted. "Lieutenant," he said weakly, "what exactly did you do on Earth during your training?" She shrugged. "Nothing crazy. Just basic survival, stuff running from bears, climbing cliffs, escaping rip currents, dodging moose. Jano, normal kid stuff. Krell blinked. Moose are predators. Mara laughed. No, they just hate everything. Why? No one knows. Krell wrote this down immediately. Moose, apex emotional predator. But the real problem, the dangerous, universe-altering problem, was not Mara's reflexes. It was the idea that Earth produced millions of humans like her. Millions raised in an environment where life itself tried to murder them every morning before lunch. He needed clarity. He needed research. He needed therapy. He activated his holotablet and pulled up Galactic Combat Protocol Level 12, the highest tier of simulated warfare training strictly reserved for elite special forces, and even then, only after psychological clearance. Mara leaned over his shoulder. Hey, is that the thing you guys call the hopeless survival test? I heard only one alien in history passed it, and he retired immediately after in fear. It is not designed for humans, Krell whispered. She smirked. Let's try it. Krell choked on his own breath. Nitrogen monoxide, please, human limits must be respected. But it was too late. She had already pressed start. The simulator roared to life. Lasers, wall traps, gravity distortions, quadrupedal plasma predators, and at least 6 environmental hazards that the Galactic Ethics Council declared inhumane. Mara casually walked through it like she was on a nature trail. She ducked under falling plasma shards. She stepped over corrosive acid rivers. She slapped a plasma predator on the snout and said, "No. Bad alien dog." It whimpered and sat down. The simulation AI, overwhelmed, initiated meltdown protocol. Krell watched in horror as the top right corner flashed. Simulation failure. User behavior incompatible with galactic physics. Ending program to prevent system suicide. The lights shut down. The simulation collapsed into a puddle of burned hologram residue. Mara dusted her hands. That was fun. Bit short though. Krell's entire worldview shattered. He understood now deeply, painfully, and permanently that the Galactic Empire had made a catastrophic mistake inviting humans into its military. Not because humans were dangerous, but because they didn't know what danger meant. To humans, danger was a suggestion. To humans, impossibility was an irritant. To humans, training simulations were toys. He stared at Mara Jones, a simple logistics officer whose greatest complaint in life was access to real coffee, and whispered, You are a Deathworlder." She blinked, then shrugged. "Cool name. Wanna get some coffee?" "No," Krell shouted, backing away. "Caffeine is the last thing you need." But Mara just grinned, tapping the railbolt she still held. "Relax, Commander. Worst case. I just outrun the anxiety." Krell fainted. And somewhere in the depths of the Galactic Council HQ, an alert triggered automatically. Warning: human performance threshold exceeds known limits. Upgrade Earth classification. Immediately. Avoid provoking humans. Also avoid moose. Commander Krell came to consciousness slowly, like a computer rebooting after sustaining emotional damage. His vision flickered first, then sharpened, just in time for him to see Lieutenant Mara Jones leaning over him with a mug. "Hey, you're awake. I brought coffee," he screamed. Mara almost dropped the cup. "Worry, lads. It's decaf." "Decaf," Krell gasped, trembling. "Thank the stars. Normal human coffee is strong enough to burn through my desk plating." She nodded. "Yeah, real coffee hits like a plasma grenade. Good stuff." Krell made a tiny whimpering noise. He sat up slowly, forcing his heartbeat back under control. He needed clarity, order, logic. He needed something that used to make sense before humans entered his military career, like a meteor made of chaos. "Lieutenant," he said weakly, "we must discuss the incident." "Which one?" she asked. "The railbolt, the simulation meltdown, the predator dog thing, or when the walls tried to crush me and I accidentally crushed them instead. All of them," Krell thought miserably. But he chose the railbolt, the moment that had destroyed everything he thought he understood about biological limits. "Mara Jones," he said gravely, "Galactic science has officially misclassified your species." She raised an eyebrow. "As what? A hazard, a threat, a medical anomaly?" He gulped. "A Deathworld predator." She laughed so hard she snorted. "Me, a predator? Dude, I work in logistics. That is what terrifies me," Krell whispered. "If a logistics officer can shatter level 12 combat protocol, what would a human soldier do? Or a human athlete? All stars help ESA human mother protecting her child." Mara grinned. "Oh, you do not want to see a human mom in danger. They will flip cars." "Cars? As in vehicles?" "Yep." Krell scribbled that into his notes with the speed of a panicked intern. "Never provoke human custodial units, capable of unregulated vehicle flipping." Mara sipped her decaf and sat on the bench beside him. "Look, Commander, I didn't mean to break anything. I really just want an easier job. Something with less walking, fewer stairs, and better coffee." "This is you taking it easy," Krell blurted out. She shrugged. "Earth's kinda intense, man. You get used to it." Those words echoed like a prophecy. Kinda intense. The planet where bears broke into cars for fun, where the ocean hunted swimmers, where temperatures changed by 40 degrees in a day, where the air itself carried diseases that updated like software patches. Krell understood now why humans were the way they were. Their home was a boot camp. Their childhood was survival training. Their normal was everyone else's apocalypse. As he processed this, his communicator chimed. The Galactic Council wanted an urgent briefing. He paled. "Mara, they want to see what you did." "Oh, cool. I love demos." "No," Krell said sharply, grabbing her arm. "This is extremely serious. We must show them only mild examples. Nothing that could terrify them." "Got it." She nodded confidently. He relaxed. She then added, "So I won't punch anything." He tensed again. "Do not punch anything." The Galactic Council chamber. The counselors watched from their thrones of authority. Dozens of species, some crystalline, some gaseous, some resembling floating noodles, studied Mara Jones with scientific dread. Krell cleared his throat. Esteemed Council, I present Lieutenant Mara Jones of Earth. She will demonstrate basic human movement. Basic? The Zecorian ambassador asked nervously. Yes, Krell said. Just walking. Mara waved. Hey, the entire chamber flinched. She took a few steps. Calm, gentle, friendly, and then the floor panel beneath her foot cracked. Silence. She froze. Sorry, didn't mean to. Chaos erupted. A gaseous life form dissipated in fear. A crystalline being shattered itself voluntarily. 3 noodle creatures tied themselves into knots. Krell raised both hands. Calm yourselves. She is not hostile. She broke the floor by walking. Someone screamed, "That was my favorite floor," cried another. Mara rubbed her neck sheepishly. I stepped a little hard. Krell forced a smile. Perfectly normal for humans. Gasps filled the chamber. For reference, Krell added desperately, this is considered gentle behavior. Several counselors fainted, but Mara tried to help. She held up her hands and gave the friendliest smile possible. Guys, I'm really not dangerous. I promise. The pressure from her smile cracked a marble column behind her. Screams doubled. Krell buried his face in his hands. By the stars, we are all going to die. The decision, after hours of panic, discussion, and several mandatory therapy breaks, the Council reached a historic conclusion. Earth would be formally upgraded to Class-4 Deathworld, and humans were to receive new diplomatic status. Do not antagonize, do not alarm, do not train, offer coffee when possible. Mara seemed oddly pleased. Cool. Does this mean I get real coffee now? Krell sighed. Yes, Lieutenant. You have earned it. She brightened instantly. But the Council had one final question for Mara Jones. Human, what do you want in return for not destroying our simulations, military doctrines, and possibly our floor systems? She blinked. Nothing much, just maybe a desk job with comfy chairs and less running. The counselors looked at one another and unanimously agreed. A desk job it is. Krell stared at her in disbelief. Mara, you just changed galactic policy forever. For a chair. A comfy one, she said proudly. Krell rubbed his temples. I will never understand humans. Mara smiled. That's okay. We don't understand ourselves either. And somewhere in the simulation wing, an automated AI quietly rebooted and whispered, "Please keep humans away."